Hello and welcome. Assalamu alaikum. You're watching Greenwich Live Sessions. This is your host Umar Khan. And I'm back with another session and another guest. In fact, because आज है Friday और Friday को होता है हमारा literature review. And for that, I have with me my co-host Sundus Anwar, who is a linguistics student and a very talented host as well. So, Sundus, first of all, welcome and hope you're doing well.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I'm doing well. Thank you so much, Umar, for the very short yet sweet introduction. Today we have a literature review. After some time, the literature में वापस आए. I'm really, really excited about it. I have, amazing students with me like always. So, should I introduce them?
लेकिन स्टूडेंट्स को इंट्रोड्यूस करने से पहले अपना टॉपिक तो इंट्रोड्यूस कर दें कि आज आप किसका रिव्यू करने वाले
Okay. Okay. So we're going to review Norwegian words. Okay, and basically it is a very, very famous novel. It has sold over, I don't even know, like thousands of copies. And we're going to talk more about it. So first, I have with me Abdullah Bhatt. Abdullah Bhatt is doing he has done his BS from Greenwich University, English Linguistics and Literature. He is working as well, and he's always been a pleasure to work with in terms of literature reviews. So, Abdullah, how are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you so much on this. I'm glad to be back doing this, and especially such a good book that we're doing today, Norwegian words. I think I'm really lucky to have a chance to explain this book.
That's awesome. And now we have Ramsha Kazmi as well. Ramsha is doing her bachelor's. She has done her bachelor's in English linguistics and literature from Greenwich University. And Ramsha is also very, very keen lover of the author. So Ramsha, talk about it. How are you and how's everything?
Hi, I'm good. Everything is good. It's really good to see you guys, although it's sad that it's virtual and we're not physically seeing each other. But like you said, if I could self-proclaim myself as Murakami's crazy fan, I probably am. And this isn't my favorite book though, but I feel like Abdullah and I both have read it, so I wanted to talk about something that was mutual. So yeah. I
Yes.
hope that I end up selling more copies for him. So
That's true. That's true. So starting off, Umar, usually जब हम लोग literature reviews करते हैं, and the best thing about working with especially Abdullah is that he always wants to talk about the cover. He starts with the basics, and he's like, Miss, I'm going to go with this. I love it, and I'm going to start off with that. So, Abdullah, you take the lead and tell us that. What is this whole?
Okay, show you guys the copy of the book that I had, but it got stolen from someone who is with us right now. You know who you are. So I can't show it anymore. But so the title, Norwegian Woods. Now the title itself, as I can explain, it means two things. Thing number one, I don't know how many of the listeners here or watchers here know about the band Beatles, but it is actually a Beatles song. And
Hmm.
Murakami, when he wrote the book, he was thinking about the Beatles song, and basically Norwegian Woods comes from that title. The song itself is mentioned within the book countless times. Even the band itself is mentioned countless times. The second meaning, which I found really interesting, was that Norwegian wood. So the term Norwegian wood is used by a lot of famous furniture companies. Now, for Norwegian wood means wood that is particularly cheap, but it is used to create expensive furniture. So every furniture that you see in Habit, every furniture that you see in IKEA or wherever, basically the wood that you're using is called Norwegian wood, but it looks expensive, so it sells on a higher price, but it's got and bought from a very, very cheap price. So these two meanings, I think, are the first thing to start off with, the title of the book itself, which is very interesting, and they kind of describe how the book takes place in a very contradictory, absurd manner. The rest, I think Ramsha can take the lead and go ahead and explain to us what exactly and why exactly is the book itself special.
I really like how you just blamed me for stealing my own book. Not gonna take that, but I had to go to his house to take my book back. So that's how much he loved it. So please buy it. I really like the fact that you went on and you explained how the title itself is so symbolic to what the story is. Um, See, Murakami's all most of his work is based on surrealism. So a lot of the titles that are translated in English are on a song. So there is South of the Border, West of the Sun. There is Winterberg Chronicles. So they all are based on either an album or a song. He loves playing with symbols and how one particular name or like something that stays on with him, and he just leaves that. Like he would have a personal memory with that, probably with Norwegian Wood, and he leaves that for his audience to decide and make their memories with it. And also, I didn't know about the fact that Norwegian Wood was a cheap wood. I just thought it was fancy because it
Wood.
looks fancy. Yeah, because I was like, But this, I would like to clear, it has nothing to do with furniture, the book. It has to do with wood. But Sunus, if you allow me, I'd like to talk about Murakami himself. And why am I so in
Yes,
love with that
yes.
guy? So,
When we're talking about literature and we're talking about the authors, and if somebody is, a diehard fan of someone who's writing, like I am, I started off with Colin Hoover. I'm a very basic person of literature, so I always want to talk about the authors. So, Ramsha, taking your point forward, agar if you talk about, he introduced realism, he talked about songs, we will touch on the author as well. You guys tell me, how much do you believe that now that we are literature students and we have learned about the authors as well, do you think that there's a part of Murakami that's shown in both in the book? Like, do you feel that way? That yes, there's a representation of the author in his writing.
So originally, Murakami's work is written in Japanese. All of
Hmm.
his books that we read are translated in English by somebody else, and he doesn't approve
Hmm.
of that. By the way, I mean, obviously, he wants.
Nobody would.
He,
Hmm.
yeah, he just feels like you get lost in translation. It doesn't do justice to his work. But
Hmm.
what he does is that he connects something like, I don't want to give away, but there's a point in Binder Bird Chronicle where he connects the Mongolian Chinese Japanese war with his present self. And he talks about it too, that his main character has Murakami or what he felt like in that period of writing. Although I feel like he makes it very dark and negative because he's like Manto. He wants to share
Hmm.
the truth of society. He
Yes.
never shies away. He would touch on topics that nobody wants to talk about. So he does have parts of him in the characters, but I think he does that in a very kind of like dark, sadistic manner. I like that's the best way I can explain.
If I take your point forward and I talk
Yeah.
about his writing as well, so in this particular book, he talked about sense of loss and alienation as well. That how what should I say? Regret is a huge topic that discusses in these themes. Abdullah, you tell me, how much do you believe that, and how much do you second what Ramsha says about his sadistic way of writing?
I don't know about sadistic, but that's another thing about the book itself is that
Can
I mentioned while I was having the pre-talk with you, Sundar, before that, on your own level, in your own way, in your own messed up way, and I think that's something the most rarest of art forms can do. It's very rare that we listen to a song or read a book or anything of this sort of anything something like this happens, and we relate to it in our own way. For example, I listen to a heartbreaking song and I'll be like, I'll get reminded of my heartbreak, but another person can listen to that same song and get reminded of something else. I think that's a sign of a good song, and that's what Murakami basically does. So I don't know if I find it sadistic per se, rather I would find it realistic. I think it's a
Yeah.
book that, like Ramsha said, it has a Manto-esque vibe to it, that it does not care about who the reader is. It does not care about what the reader is looking for. It will, or it is out to make the reader uncomfortable. It is out to make the reader feel that life isn't just about so special friends. Not mean that you should not read the book. Please read the book. It's a very good book. But it was out to make the reader feel that you should definitely read the book for the fact you'll realize that okay, I am special in my own way. I'm special because
Yeah,
I'm also human. I think that's the most
that's true.
beautiful thing about uh,
I would
Norwegian.
take your stance forward and take it from Umar as well. That Umar, it's always said that yeah, one reads a book and they come off as a different person. And in this book, when you read it, you're going to find yourself as the person who you should accept. You should accept yourself. You should accept who you are as a human. How much do you think, Umar, that this is an important thing, and how much do you believe that this is something that's missing even today?
Well, as Abdullah said, that a good book or a good song is the one that everyone goes through it and they have their own elaboration and own perspective on it. So similarly, if I talk about it, that if we talk about this book particularly, so different people relate it in different ways, and it's a very kind of romantic kind of story where this sides where it was very popular amongst the youth as well. There
Yeah.
was a movie made on this in 2010, although this novel was launched in 1987. The
Yeah.
movie was made in 2010, but it was mostly popular amongst the Japanese youth. And that was the whole reason behind it, that it touched that romantic side and how the feelings develop between youngsters and
It's
all.
basically a coming of age novel, I would say, that how one relates to it and when you are why देखो ना the similarities if you talk about 1987 में ये चीज देखी हुई and then afterwards 2010 में it's getting formed in a movie and how people can still relate to it explains the whole idea that the author was actually explaining the basic feelings or the very realistic things that we as people feel in our daily life or uh, if you just look at the person, they say, "Okay, starting maybe, oh, I'm going to give away from the novel. The kids are going to kill me. I won't do that. Okay, sorry. So it's just that when you start,
एक कमेंट ऐड कर देता हूँ, वो कमेंट आया हुआ है अब्दुल्ला के लिए, तो लेट मी ऐड दैट कमेंट. नाइस बॉटल अब्दुल्ला,
nice,
but
Yeah, it's quite nice.
very nice, very
Thank
attractive.
you. Stay hydrated, guys. Stay hydrated. That's a good thing.
So as I was saying that from the starting, I would say that in जब book start ही होती है and how the reader takes us through the journey of मैं नहीं बोलना चाह रही मैं नहीं बोलना चाह रही
I
लोग मुझे
like.
इससे पहले देखे और बोले कि आप क्या बोल रही हैं आप इससे ज्यादा
No,
नहीं
I
बोले
really
so
like
basically
the
this
fact
takes
that.
us to this whole story that way you relate so I'm sure now you tell me there was a part when you wanted to talk about the resemblance in
Yeah.
Murakami's work so yeah take it forward.
First, I'd like to appreciate that you held yourself back so often. That I'm not gonna give the story away, but I think I might end up giving some parts away because I think it
After you deal with
might just.
Abdullah I'll be out of it.
Yeah, I think it'll like urge them. Oh, by the way, do you guys know that me and Abdullah have had not have the conversation about this book at all?
Yes, 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 yes,
We didn't
I know.
we didn't talk about it because we have our own perspective. Okay, the thing about Murakami's work is that all of it is correlated. So even if you read other books, you will find bits of the same like Norwegian book के
Hmm.
character कोई होगा तो उस character का bit एक और character में होगा जो दूसरी book में they're all interlinked and it's so messed up like Abdullah likes to say but the thing is that like going back to what Omar said that the book came out so long ago. I read it in 2009 before the movie was made. Then I reread it in 2014, I believe. Then I reread it like in 2018. Every time it's relatable for whatever age it is because the first feeling of falling in love, I think it's the same for everyone. And he talks about how that feeling stays with you till the age of 60 and how much it affects your life even on like a daily basis. So that's one of the reason why it's a book that I would reread anytime. But I feel like Murakami has done that because I personally believe that the person he's married to now wasn't his, the first choice. She wasn't his
Yes.
love, the love of his life. So he very openly says, "Okay, it's fine that I'm not married to somebody I love, but the person I am married to loves me. And like, to be able to accept that fact, I think he finds a way of explaining what he felt for whoever he felt through a book, and I find that very lovely. That as writers or literature students, it's I feel like it's very nice that we pick up a book and we find our own perspectives of whatever the author might have written. Like, he must have said something in his own way, whatever it means, but to me, it's something else. It relates to something else. So I really I saw the movie and I don't think it did justice. So I don't recommend that movie because it was a
Yes.
short film by students.
Because as I always say, whenever you read a novel and then you watch the movie, you'll never be satisfied because you've already seen the whole picture in your imagination,
Exactly.
and imagination, can never be made in a movie or created again because your imagination is so strong and so way beyond that a camera or a picture cannot capture it. So that's
Right.
why you can never enjoy a movie once you've read the novel. हाँ, जिन लोगों ने बिल्कुल मूवी नॉवल पढ़े बगैर मूवी देखी होगी, they must have enjoyed the movie. Like for
Right.
example, I remember I watched the movie Fault in the Stars without reading the novel. और मुझे मूवी अच्छी लगी, लेकिन मेरे जितने दोस्त थे who read the novel and watched the movie, so they said no, it's not at all, मजा ही नहीं आया, बेकार है.
बिल्कुल मजा नहीं आया था, बिल्कुल
Yeah.
भी
I
नहीं
feel
आया
the
था.
same. I feel like the
Exactly.
same happens in Harry Potter as well.
Ah,
Like,
so
Oh,
I don't.
true. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That's so true. I'm so sorry I'm going off track, but this is a huge topic that we will discuss as well in our future reviews, that why movies should not be made on novels, because it totally takes the essence away, and no, it's just a no from me.
think
Try
that
to commercialize it. It doesn't do.
if you take another perspective is that if you watch a movie and then you know that it's based on a novel, so then you feel like reading the novel, and then when you read the novel, you get more into that, but वो उसकी essence ruin हो चुकी होती है because when you're reading about the character, picture पहली दिमाग में आ जाती है,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it actually ruins it.
Yeah.
Exactly, exactly.
That's
I would take
So
Abdullah's perspective.
would there be no instances where either of us or any of us people in the even in the comments where we can say that the movie was better than the novel?
Nobody
Is
would
there
say that.
no,
Nobody
not a
would say
single?
Not
that.
me. I don't
Then
know
how
why.
would
पता
you?
नहीं मुझे
I
तो लगता है
refuse.
जैसे I'm always going to be this person who's going to sit in her chair and probably with her library and a cup of tea and stay there for life. और मुझे ये लगता है कि usually I'm the one who is mocked off because my Netflix series cannot finish. I cannot even complete a 10 episode series. I would go away. I'm not that person. So me too, I'm definitely a proper person without any interest in movies or
But I
remaking or
feel
anything.
like if, like, when you read a book, especially a book that is, based on fiction or something that you find interesting or something that hasn't happened in your life, you transcend into the world that the author has created. You
Very
can't
true.
do
True
that
that.
with movies
Very
or
true.
shows.
Very true. And I would take this point forward and talk about that how much, I love the love triangle as well in this in this novel. So देखो, we can talk about love triangle, right? We
Yeah,
can.
yeah.
I'm glad you said in
अब
this novel.
तुम दोनों
I'm glad
पर
you said in this novel.
thank you.
नहीं,
Okay,
नहीं,
so yeah, okay, first. So ठीक है, I'm gonna talk about it. Now, full ये लोग मुझे से बोल रहे थे, I'm not gonna give it away. I'm not gonna give it away. We're not supposed to give it away. So I'm just always confused to do or not to do.
यार देखो, आप थोड़ा सा तो लोगों को बताओ ना कि
yeah,
स्टोरी,
yeah, exactly.
you have to give a highlight, you have to give a recap, like
Whereas like थोड़ा सा तो बताओ, हमें भी तो पता चले, like तुम लोग क्या कह रहे हो?
बिकॉज देखिए,
I think
if we
we
talk
can play
about
it safe.
जो कैरेक्टर है, उन कैरेक्टर्स के बारे में ही थोड़ा सा एक लोगों को हिंट दिया जाए कि तोरू कैसा था, वो एक लड़की कैसी थी, खामोश इमोशनल थी, दूसरी लड़की कैसी थी, बड़ी आउट गोइंग थी, तो यू हैव टू गिव दैट बिट टू द पीपल.
थोड़ा सा गिव अवे तो दे ही दिया है उमर ने कि थोड़ी सी आउट गोइंग थी और the main character's name is Sukhna.
मतलब लोगों के जहन में कुछ कुछ होता है, चल रही होगी, एक रानी मुखर्जी है, एक काजोल है, एक शाहरुख खान है.
Damn.
I really want those people to read it and then they'll be so disappointed. They'll be like, "अरे क्या मतलब? No happy ending." I mean, I'm not saying that there's no happy ending, but I
देखो,
didn't like it. But I
Now
didn't
you're
personally
just gonna
like the
spoil the
ending.
ending. You're just
Yeah.
gonna spoil the
like
ending.
this is so bad. So taking my point forward, if I talk about love triangles and how much they're, like the first of all, when you're reading a book, and then there's a love triangle. It always anticipates you. And it's like, okay, now he's feeling this way certainly, and then he's feeling this way certainly. Especially for a girl, I would say that I am that person. I don't know. I don't put any girl in my what should I say scale. But as a reader, I am for me. If I talk about love triangles, if I read about it, it makes me more suspicious, and I'm like, turn page, see what's next, turn page, see what's next. It's like always that point, now. So I would say that he's built up the tension really well,
That's
really
true.
well. And the way he explains and the way he takes us with their journey, like, you can feel it. You can feel that how he's at the same time he's tragic about it, but at the same time he's accepting it. He's accepting that, okay, fine, this happened with me, and I felt this way, but then again, he's okay with it as well. So I would want you both to talk about little about the love triangle.
I'd like Abdullah to start about this. I want his perspective on the love triangle.
My perspective on the love triangle. I think that's an okay. I'll try to explain it the best I can without spoiling anything, but
I think
it's
it's
not.
late, yeah.
It's
Spoil kar
definitely
diya.
not Nani Mukherjee. It's definitely not
Yeah.
that. It's definitely not any Indian movie or any Indian series that we would ever see. That's a bike on the road. I'm sorry about that. But it's definitely not like any other thing that you would ever see. I think this love triangle, I don't even know if it was love. I don't even know if
Hmm.
it was considerably love. I think a lot of scenes or a lot of imagery that was shown in this so-called love triangle was can be based off lust. Even I don't particularly think it was a love triangle at all. Even the ending of the love triangle, even that I think was something I did not expect as a reader. I turned the page. You know how Sundar is saying that she turns the page to find the ending, and usually we can assume that the ending is going to be that either he picks that girl or he picks this girl or he just gives up on both of them. This time the ending was just something I did not expect. I did not expect the ending at all. I think that's one thing about the book itself, that it had constantly been something that looked ordinary, but by the end of it, it seemed like it was gonna completely turn. It would seem like it was gonna turn all the way around completely. I think that's what I think about the love triangle. I think it was a very extraordinary love triangle, to say the least. What about you, Ramsha?
You know, I would totally agree to your point as well, Atullah, that yes, and as I said, no, this book is a definite read for people. They should read it, and they'll be like, "Ooh," like, they'll be like mind boggled that ye kya hua last, that turning point. So I'm so sorry I cut you off, but yes, I let's go to Ramsha and ask about it.
One thing that I agree with Abdullah is that it wasn't love. I feel like it was more like empathy. It was guilt. For me, it was. I don't think this is what I would consider love. Um, to be very honest, I believe that love is just necessity because you need a partner in life. You can't always be alone. But Toru didn't need a partner. He chose to be with who he wanted to be without spoiling it. But also because he empathized and he was feeling both guilty and empathetic towards the person that he didn't choose or didn't get the option of choosing. So I feel like to fill that void, he needed to kind of lean on somebody else. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but um, love more than a choice is a necessity in life. You can't just get up. That's something Murakami has taught me, that it's not a choice. Yeah, it is a choice of who I fall in love with, but it's not a choice to be or be in or be out of love. It's because I think Toru decided that, okay, there's a void that I need to fill. It's a need that society has created. Then I have to be with somebody to share my life with. So he was just confused, and he let the fate decide. He didn't make the decision on his own. And whatever fell in his basket, he accepted it. And he was like, "हाँ चलो कोई बात नहीं. That's all I got." So there was a love triangle, but I feel like the love only came from the women's perspective. It was never from Toru's perspective.
You guys, if I talk about education as a part of this novel, and how all these three were university students, and what they went through. Uh, I want to talk about it. Why? Because I feel like that education is something that's very, very close to my heart, and I always believe that I always put a little side of it. How much do you guys agree that the the different sides of education in terms for all those three students has been shown? Somebody who's completely leaving, somebody who's completely there. So, how much do you agree that education sometimes does not help you in the practical world? I'll start with Abdullah.
Uh, well, this is going to be an interesting topic for me, particularly. Uh, I've always been of the belief that I think institutes is going to get controversial. I'm going to try not to be controversial. I think institutes can help you in the practical life. There are fields of practicality. For example, I've had great teachers. I've had great teachers. I think we've all had great teachers in Greenwich that have helped us in our practical lives. But and these lessons that we've learned in our practical lives, I have found myself using them in conversations. For example, linguistics. I found
Yeah.
myself using linguistics a lot in my conversations. But when it comes to, there are certain things in life, obviously it's not, an institute cannot be, a given that okay, it is now you guys are just going to learn everything about everything. I think life has a way to surprise us. I think Norwegian Woods is the ideal book to read to be ready for such surprises. I don't think that institutes or anything in life helps you understand life as a whole. So I wouldn't
Yes.
say that an institutional education is going to help us get through everything. For example, uh,
Yes.
we can see the journeys, like Sundar said very well, that all these different characters, like there's so many characters in the story that are having different levels of education. Some are very well, they're graduating, some are halfway through graduating, and some are dropping out. And all these different characters, although despite having different varying levels of education, their lives are in absurdly messed up circles. They're
Don't you think that's very true? अब्दुल्ला अगर मैं तुम्हारा point forward लूँ और अगर हम अपने
Mhm.
ही university circle में देखते हैं, that's how things are, right? We have
Exactly.
absurd, different, messy combinations of a group, and then we are all together. Like don't you think that this is the part where it shows how education or university life is like? Ramsha, your point of view.
I would agree with you too. I believe that education just polishes your skill. So I
Hmm.
like us three being from literature, it came naturally. It wasn't like yo हमें किसी ने किताब पकड़ाई और हमें force किया और read किया. हो सकता है ऐसा हुआ हो, but we fell in love with the book. We fell in love with the writer. So we realized, okay, literature is our field. And so when we came to university, I feel like we saw a lot of the characters we already read, and we're like, oh, हम अगर जो बहुत ज़्यादा books पढ़ते हैं, I feel that कि I find characters of a character in a novel in different people. I'll just be like, oh, he acts like Toru. Like Abdullah does act like Toru sometimes, and that's also why I asked him to read the book.
I
I was
should
like, you're
take
Toru.
offense in that. I
No,
should
you
be offended
shouldn't.
by
I
that.
like that guy, but okay. अच्छा fine. Um,
लेकिन ये है कि Ramsha, since you want to talk about Murakami as well, and we are also coming towards the end, so since before we
yeah,
end the session, I really like to give you that chance to talk about Murakami because many of our audience also want to know a bit more about him because he has been such an influential writer, especially
yeah.
in Japan and in the
So,
US normally.
starting with he only doesn't write fiction. He also promotes healthy lifestyle. So he's got books written about why he does marathons, which is very odd because his character, not giving away, but a writer shows himself in characters. So you would find parts of book in in his novel that are so irrelevant, like किस तरीके से वो onion काट रहा है. Murakami would explain that as well. For somebody who's so understanding, they will find symbols in it. So one thing I really love about Murakami is that he would just leave you to imagine. Like, I think we do this in literature where we try to find symbolism in things. So his work, most of his work, revolves around the symbolism of cat, or symbolism of wells or a door or dreams, and they all are so correlated. He also speaks or writes a lot about mental health. Um, and I'm not saying that he talks about the awareness of mental health. If he's talking about somebody being depressed, he will openly be like, make sure that the person who is depressed and is suicidal, it justifies, pata chalega aapko ke okay, you know what, life's not all amazing. He is very very honest in the pieces he writes. That's why I call him quite dark and sadistic like that. He None of his books will give you the happy ending that you want. You're not going to be satisfied, obviously, because I think we read books to kind of find that happiness or like a source that fills our void. Murakami's work wouldn't get you there, but it will make you feel like it's okay. It's okay that our life isn't that great. No one's is. Um, the last thing I would like to talk about Murakami is that if you do plan to read Norwegian Wood, my next suggestion would definitely be Wind Up Bird Chronicles, because then you're going to be like, this man's messed up, but in the right way. That's
Yes,
it.
I would take that point forward, and we would talk about that definitely. There's a suggestion for us as well. I'm going to read that too. Actually, this is the only book I've read from Murakami, so I don't know much about the rest. I would now. Thank you, Ramsha. Taking forward, if Umar lets me, let's talk about how this was, this whole literature review for everyone. Starting off with Ramsha because she was new. So, how was your
Yeah.
experience in the session?
Obviously, I was so stressed earlier. I was like, oh, what if I give away and they end up being like, पूरी story बता दी है, मैं book क्यों read करूँगी? I'm quite glad that I held back, but honestly, it was so much fun to talk about. I think it was four different perspectives of a same book, and I really liked how we all had some things in common and like the other things that we understood about each other. But I genuinely really liked the literature reviews, and I can just request, please next time be lele, please. I'm available.
Cute. Taking up the last point of view, Abdullah, how was your experience?
Oh, mine was as always. I really love these. I love them to death, to be honest, because it gives a chance to people in our university to get to know about new books. People who, I think messages like these can come out as a godsend because right now, although the pandemic is still not over, people are still looking for
Yeah,
something. People are still looking for a sign. People are still looking for something that can make them understand or make sense of their confusion. And I think a book can be an ideal thing in life right now. I think this literature review, and every time we have a literature review, I think it's almost like we're sending out or giving people, anyone, even if it goes to one person and he goes like, okay, you know what, I'm going to maybe watch the movie or I'm going to go read the book, and he picks up the book Norwegian Wood. Even if one person does that, I think the whole review is a success. So I love
that's
that.
true.
I really, really love that. So it's always fun. It's
So
always
I
fun.
would like to thank Omar for initiating the concept and starting off with it, and you know, what should I say, giving me the boost up all the time that yes, this we can do it, you can do it. So thank you, Omar, for starting off with this great platform. Omar, you tell us how has this been? Because you were in your boat alone, sailing it completely when the pandemic started. Then you know got me on board. Thank you for that. But then, you know, then you started a literature review as well. So, do you think that Abdullah जिस तरह बोल रहा है that it does reflect? Because it does. मुझे तो बहुत मजा आता है, to be honest. It brings me back
Yeah,
to my studies.
You're absolutely right, and as Abdullah said, that was the whole concept when we started this live session: is to give people something constructive, something positive. Give them some ideas to how to spend their time in a very constructive, positive way, or कुछ ऐसा करें जो उनकी वो add on करे. Like we're getting away from books. The whole main idea behind starting this literature review is कि हम जितने youngsters उनको वापस books के करीब लेके जाएं, to develop that interest. And it's not just English, we've also covered the Urdu literature side as well, कि English हो उर्दू हो, आप reading की तरफ जाएं. कहते हैं ना, किताब बेहतरीन दोस्त है, तो अब वो दोस्ती खत्म होती जा रही है. So that is the reason we tried it. We started this literature review, and it's so it's such a happy moment for me when all the students are part of it and they review and they make it so lively. and interesting. तो खुशी इस बात पे होती है that students are coming up and doing their work. तो उसमें that's the best part. So that was the whole idea behind it. And thank you बोलने से ज़्यादा मैं आप लोगों को thank you बोलूँगा that you guys are part of it and you guys have made it a success.
Yes, I would definitely say. So if you guys all allow me, may I do the extra now if we're done with the
Yes, absolutely. आप एक्स्ट्रो करें, हमारी मार्केटिंग करें और सारी चीजें करें. Over.
so bad. Okay. So this was, a little literature review. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys got a little idea about what Norwegian Woods is about. If you feel like, now maybe we have anticipated you enough to read the novel and see what it's about, and maybe you can even read another novel from him. You never know. It's a whole different vast sea, I would say, when it comes to literature. You just have to dive in and select whatever you want. Thank you so much for tuning, everyone. Thank you so much to all the kids who come and help, us to do the literature reviews. It's always a pleasure to work with all of you. And to Greenwich University for giving us a good platform where we all come together, we sit and we talk about how we have learned and what are the findings that we found in certain books. Our admissions are, now closed, and we are going to start off our university cycle as well. Inshallah, I hope the pandemic has left us with a little better review about how life is now and what we should learn from, our communications and our relationships. All the details of our university, the WhatsApp number, the email, the contact number is given here. You can always email us and talk about if anything, if you have any career counseling problems, if you have any, admission related problems, do let us know. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. And I hope everyone's safe and everyone stays safe. So, Allah Hafiz.